Oh, hi. Welcome back. You've caught me at a rather unfortunate time. See, I just played this game that I feel like shouldn't exist and just shouldn't have been made at all, and it certainly wasn't for people, not me anyway. And so you have a favorite childhood game or something, and you enjoy it and the series it created and everything it stands for, but somebody tried to make a rip off of it, and it wasn't very good, and it's bad, and so so my favorite it's been ruined. It's the Ring Terror's Realm. So yeah, Resident Evil is my jam. It's one of my favorite game series ever. It taught me that horror is fun. It got me into the genre as a whole. Before, I never watched movies or played anything that was remotely creepy, but it taught me that being scared and tense can be fun. But it's gotta be done correctly. The Ring Terror's Realm was released in the year 2000 for the Sega Dreamcast. It's a survival horror game, or it tries to be anyway. Its release takes place 4 years after Resident Evil 1 and 2 years after Resident Evil 2. So the fellas at Asmik Ace, creators of such games as... so they decided it was high time that they had a Resident Evil ripoff. So obviously they weren't going to go around making an original IP. They had to find something that already existed. Something that was begging for Resident Evil style gameplay. Something with scary monsters, terrific atmosphere, and something that could captivate the player in a realm of absolute terror. What? Now, okay, I could maybe see Silent Hill type gameplay for the Ring. It'd be a stretch, but you know what? I think it could work. Stretch. Let's focus on that word for a second, shall we? By the end of this review, you'll have seen more stretching than what goes into taffy making. Let's dive right in, shall we? That sound really needs no explanation. I think it squishes for itself. The game starts out with a CGI cutscene that's bad enough to make an asylum film blush. We get introduced to our main character Meg and her boyfriend Robert, who both work for a pharmaceutical company. Gee, even for a ripoff title, that's a little on the nose, isn't it? Meg is driving home while Robert seems to be hard at work doing computer things, when all of a sudden... You see, I tell people not to play Glover. Why? Because your hand gets taken over by demonic entities. Does anybody ever listen? No, why listen to General Zilla? He only played the stupid thing. This is what happens. It's what you get. And you deserve it. Shame. So, we assume Robert is dead. Meg arrives on the scene and whoa, holy crap, what is this officer on? Does he even have eyelids? Anyway, we see what might be the worst exchange of dialogue in a video game ever. There's very little pause in the officer's voice. Not to mention, he acts like he's kind of confused that a woman that pulled into the driveway is trying to enter a crime scene at her own house.
No, I'm sorry, you can't come in here. You're gonna have to get out of here. Or do you live here?
What's happened, officer?
What's happened, officer?
No! No, I can't believe it's Robert! No!
Sorry, but your delivery on that last line was a little off. Mind going over it again and this time act like you're reacting to your boyfriend's death instead of biting into some margarine spread?
No, I can't believe it's Robert!
Okay, screw it. We'll just use that line for merchandising. A taste so natural, not even Meg can tell.
I can't believe it's Robert!
You okay, lady?
Well, it depends. Is it really Robert? Because I can't tell. Not even a second later, we get another exchange that has to be the result of bad translation and overly underpaid actors. The guy playing Jack is a very bad voice actor, but he sounds like he might be trying, and the other officer sounds like he's mumbling about 5 feet away from the mic. I really can't believe they went with this. I'm aware of the bad acting in Resident Evil. Everyone is. It's part of its charm. It's over the top and sets the tone in a very fun way. This just feels like a bad opening to a Ring movie performed by actors who were probably part of the translation team.
What happened to Robert? Actually, we don't yet exactly know what happened to him this evening.
You don't know? Isn't this a murder?
Okay.
It's unlikely
carry
to be
him
a
out now.
homicide case.
Not a murder? Then what's that?
I'm still alive. I'll work for this company without you, Robert. I shouldn't mourn your death forever.
In this universe, the mourning period has dropped to 12 hours. Good job. So we get control of Meg and get to walk around her lab for a little bit, only to quickly be locked into the first of many lengthy dialogue exchanges, during which Jack explains that a suspicious computer program was found on Robert and 3 other lab technicians' computers titled Ring. Jack explains that all of them died at the same time in the same way. This makes Meg curious, and she decides to boot the program for herself. We're launched into a dark, mysterious game, where we're decked out in espionage gear and an Oculus Rift. Well, looks like the game at least predicted what virtual reality actually looks like. Did I miss something? She just ran up to that guy and talked to him like he asked her a question already. By all means, he responded accordingly. The entire conversation goes down just like that, too. She says something about a game, he acts like she just asked something about Cold Fusion. On top of that, everyone has a bad habit of echoing everything said in the form of a question. I gotta stay here and hold the door. You go check out the kitchen. The kitchen? What do you mean the kitchen? Yeah, the kitchen. I gotta stay here and make sure no more get in. Take this gun. What do you mean, monsters? Yeah, monsters. Go kill them or we die. Die? What do you mean die? The thing that happens when you stop existing. Alright, the kitchen. So we go upstairs as instructed and we get our first taste of action. What the heck is that? I thought I was playing The Ring. Is that a Sam Squatch? It's a werewolf? I don't understand. What does that have to do with this? What's going on here? Did someone slip another game in my Dreamcast when I wasn't looking? Well, the weird hairy thing drops pretty easily at least. I hope this sets a precedent for most of the monsters. Oh. We go back to report our kill to the other agent, but suddenly we collapse and wake back up into the real world, because I guess the game thought things were getting a bit too exciting. Meg wakes up and gets a phone call. No one answers, but a quick look at the computer screen reveals our fate. Meg, you sure you weren't just playing Dark Souls? We can save our game using these radios, which still use that weird squishy sound. The use of that sound is just dumb. There are plenty of other sounds that could have been used instead of that. Anyway, we step outside to look around when we are confronted by middle-aged April O'Neil, who welcomes us to the office, even though I thought it was established that we already worked here. She takes us to meet the boss, who they call the Chief. And Burly Man? Why? That doesn't contribute to the story at all. I get she says it in her head, as noted by the parentheses, but why is it even there at all? What if he was just a skinny guy, or a fat guy, or a phone guy? Would it matter? Does it change the story? This dialogue is killing me. Everyone's echoing, Meg acts like it's her first day on the job, even though the cutscene established that it is clearly not her first day, and what was with her just randomly complimenting the burliness of her boss in her head? What does this even accomplish? That carpet's starting to look dirty. The boss welcomes us to our new old job and explains that the office and the whole city is on lockdown because of a virus leak that has taken place. So we're not allowed to leave the office, and thus have the freedom to explore. Except for the first floor of the basement, the reference room, this random office, these marked off rooms, and yeah, so basically I'm free to explore the place I was probably free to explore before the lockdown, but even less so now. So I get to exploring for a little bit, but nothing really happens. I talk to the old guy, and he tells me something weird is going on. Basically, it's all the stuff Jack told me earlier. Speaking of whom, I go back to my office and have a talk with Jack again. He informs us that Robert's body is being kept in the lab for testing, and that the disease he was studying may be the cause of his death. Meg makes the decision to confront her boss about it. Good job advice. On your first day, always interrogate your boss. We get to asking the chief about Robert, the virus, and the Ring World, and he starts getting suspiciously upset, telling us to be quiet and go cool off. His anger really comes out of nowhere. He doesn't even try to act calm at first. Well, at least we know he's the bad guy now. Not even 10 minutes in, and the game reveals its first twist. Yes, first twist. We're sent back to our office to calm down, but of course we're not going to do that. We go back and tell the old scientist that Chief got angry when we brought up Robert in the ring. He all but confirms our suspicions and says that we need to go into the reference room. He thinks Robert may have stowed a key away in his locker, and we should look there. On accident, I go into the women's locker room first and meet a new character, Kathy, who has had a disco ball smashed across her head, leaving it there because she probably thought it looked fly. She seems unimportant enough, so we leave. When we arrive in the men's locker room, we're confronted by a security officer. He tells us to leave, but the old scientist comes in just in time and plays the grieving girlfriend card for us. We find the key in Robert's locker and go back to the reference room. I'm getting real tired of running back and forth across this corridor. I feel like I'm doing nothing. It's getting annoying and really repetitive, and everything's been at least 2 loading screens away. Not to mention every little door you go to is its own loading screen. Kind of like Resident Evil, but much longer and much more annoying. I don't even feel like I've made any headway with the story at all. We haven't even been back to the ring yet. I hope the ring contains some gameplay. I wouldn't know. I'm too busy messing around in the real world doing nothing. Finally, we reach the reference room, but we get kicked out, but not before discovering that the Chief has been investigating a curse and an 8mm film that seems to be tied to the curse. So we finally made our connection to the movie. But with this discovery, I made a realization about the Ring movie and this game. In 1998, a film titled Ringu was released in Japan, but did not get any sort of widespread release until 2002, the same year the film received a Hollywood remake. Furthermore, the films are based on a novel that came out in 1991. The novel was not released outside of Japan until 2003. This game, however, got its international release in 2000, meaning very few people outside of Japan knew what this game was even about. There you have it, folks. Instant alienation of the majority of the audience. Even most people in Japan probably wouldn't know what's going on unless they've read all the books. How this game even got an international release is beyond me. Now that I've made a few discoveries in the real world, I can finally go back into the ring, but only to immediately become lost. There's just this upstairs room and this big lab downstairs. I wander around for probably 15 minutes before realizing that there's a door in the floor. It's a slightly different color than the rest of the floor, and as dark as it is in the ring world, it was hard for me to tell that it was an interactable object. Seriously, this game is so dark. When the battery goes out in the flashlight, you can't see a thing, and you're left to wander the darkness mashing the interact button, hoping that you come across a battery. So, you think you can just go and adjust the brightness in-game, right? Wrong. Gotta go to your TV and adjust it manually. You know, I don't care what kind of game you make, you better put a gamma switch in there. So, not including the 15 minutes I spent looking for that door in the floor, we find ourselves back in the real world again in just about 10 minutes. I hardly did anything. I killed maybe 3 more monsters, and I don't know anything else other than I happened to get temporarily sucked into a computer. And just as I fear, as soon as I wake up, I get called back into the Chief's office. Again, more running to the other side of the building. The Chief chews us out for walking into the reference room that he never told us was off limits. He tells us to refrain from activities that confuse people. Some advice the game fails to take itself. We pass out in the hallway, but then immediately wake up. This music is driving me insane. It's the same 10-second note played over and over again with this weird whimsical tune playing in the background. It's freaking awful. Hope it changes when we go to the next area. So we find a new keycard that gives us access to a few more rooms as well as the first floor dining room, which is off limits while the building is under lockdown. When you're closed in an office building for several days on end, the last thing anybody needs to do is eat. We explore the first floor a little bit, but thankfully it's not too long before we re-enter the ring. Once we're there, however, it starts to become obvious that the ring is taking place inside of our building. We're met with the other agent, and he tells us that a gas leak is about to go off that will kill us all, and we have to find the key that a monkey took off with. We find it and turn the power back on, and that stops the gas leak from occurring. Now the game actually gave me 15 real minutes to figure this one out, but I was of course lost in the darkness half the time. The right monkey with the right key is locked behind a door that's very well hidden in the darkness, so obviously I ended up failing. But, knowing everything I needed to do, I got it all in about 4 minutes on my second try, and then it's right back to the real world. Yay. So we're told with our new keycard we can gain access to the basement and... That's some intense music. Something's going down. Or not. Guess we'll just wander around a bit. Holy crap, it's part of the soundtrack. It's not a musical stinger at all. It's just background music. Where's the logic in that? That's clearly music you use for a stinger. You use it whenever you discover something scary, find something amazing, or perhaps when you pull back the cover over your dead boyfriend's face. You don't just play that type of music whenever. Down in the basement, we make the discovery that there are patients that are possibly infected with the virus. Some of them even knew Robert, who apparently tried to help them. Aside from that, the only real thing we learn is from this crazy patient in the bathroom who claims she will be dying in 3 days, on top of other incomprehensive rabble. One room we go to triggers quite possibly the first meaningful dialogue in the game. I mean, who was... I certainly wasn't. Were you? Were you making fun of the magic in Asia? Don't do that. Can't make fun of the magic in Asia. Shame on you. We learn that the ring curse has been turned into a real virus somehow, and the chief is trying to control it. Why? I don't know. Maybe he wants to weaponize it and sell it. We never really get any sort of a motive until later. Now that we've seen that the chief is out of the office, we figure it's time to do some more snooping. Oh, good. I was becoming afraid the game wouldn't give me the privilege of tediously running across this entire office building again. No, seriously, according to the map, I'm in one corner of the basement, and the chief's office is in the opposite corner on the top floor. I'm literally running from one end of the office to another. I'm genuinely curious to see how much time I've ran around in this game. I bet it beats out the amount of time I've spent shooting tenfold. So we get back to his office and find the key that will open a drawer in the reference room. In that drawer, we find the infamous film that contains Sadako's curse. We reach the media room and watch the film, which promptly sucks us back into the ring world. Well, we have one thing going for us. I didn't spend too much time in the real world this time. The bad news is, last time I was in the ring, my health wasn't faring too well. Hopefully I can find some of that sweet healing jelly before I... Well, crap. Guess I gotta reload the game. Is nothing sacred? I mean, the save room? Really? I mean, I fully recognize why the monster spawning is random. It gets rid of repetitiveness at a certain level. But it's the freaking save room. I didn't even get a chance to turn around and shoot, or even run away, for that matter. You know what? No. You don't get to win, Ring. I got you. These people came to see credits, and credits they will see. We managed to find some health without dying, thankfully, and we do some more killing before running into our good friend Jake, who has made his way into the game as well. The reunion is interrupted by another Sam Squatch, when Meg decides that it's all too much for her and curls into the floor before once again waking in the real world. While we were knocked out, the chief apparently ran some tests on us. We get nosy again, and the chief gets angry with us. We go back to our office and find Lucchino, the security guard, who's been giving us some trouble, but he reveals to us that he was working with Robert to find out what's been going on. He tells us there's a back room in the basement we need to reach to find out exactly what's happening, and says he'll drop the power so we can gain access. But it isn't for another 3 hours, so Meg decides to kill some time in the ring. Yeah, that seems like an odd choice. I'll just kill some time in this virtual world that physically hurts whenever I go to it. Flawless plan. This time things start to become clear. We find the other agent again, and we start talking about how this is all a game, and he explains that the real world is actually a computer program, and the ring is actually the real world. Whoa. We don't believe him, of course, but we go on our way regardless. We eventually run into Shizuko, Sadako's mother, who has for some reason taken the form of a small girl in a polo shirt and jean skirt. Okay. She explains further that what we think is the real world is a nightmare realm created by Sadako, and that Robert is really alive, but we have to find the vaccine for the curse in the loot program. A vaccine for a curse. A curse that Sadako put onto film, which has been turned into a virus, which has been turned into a virtual world. But the cure for this virus is in an actual virtual world that's actually a nightmare world, and the world we're in right now is actually the real. We once again return to the real world where Lucchino has successfully turned off the power, so we make our way to the basement before the emergency power kicks on. We come across one patient whose 7 days are apparently up, and she morphs into an ape man. After killing it, Meg is still in denial and thinks she just murdered somebody. Shizuko explains that not only is she in a made-up world, the person she killed is no longer human. She guides us back to the room where we met her in the ring world. She has left us a key to gain access to the chief's secret elevator. We make our way back, but not before first finding this. Aw, yeah, now we're talking. Oh, of course it's too slow to actually be useful. Game finally gives me something cool and it's completely useless. Thing is, you can actually sneak up on these things if they're not looking at you, and the sword will one-shot them. But if they see you and get you, the sword might as well be just cardboard. We make it to the chief's secret elevator, and we run into him downstairs. He explains that he wants to control Sadako's curse to bring humanity to the next level of evolution. However that's supposed to work. But then this happens.
What's happening?
No, you can't. You'll never be the one who
Control this force, never ever.
Oh, boy. Oh dear. That just looked terrible. I mean, and on top of everything, it was really anticlimactic, because the end result is that he looks like pretty much everything else we've been fighting. In fact, he might even be smaller than most of the things we've been fighting. Well, whatever he is, he has way more health than what's called for. Luckily, he's easily beaten by getting him caught on the objects in this room, specifically this shelf. We proceed to a room where Sadako is resting, but she wakes up and travels to the roof, where we must go confront her. Oh yeah, and the elevator's out, so we gotta walk up the building one more time. We get to the roof and find Sadako looking up at the sky, but her seeing us brings about her bad mood, as she aims to kill us for trying to undo her curse. She will unleash her terror to see me fail. Nothing shall stop her. She is invincible. Too bad for her, we have a 9mm handgun. Sadako is easily defeated, and in her dying breath, she gives us the vaccine, but states that humanity will kill itself regardless. Turns out she's right, because the people start killing each other waiting on the vaccine. And with that, we get to roll on the credits. That's it? I mean, really? You're gonna end like that? What about Robert? Shizuko told us that Robert was alive. I mean, did he make it? Did he get the vaccine? Do we get to see what happens at all? That doesn't make any sense. Why was Sadako still alive? I mean, I guess, yeah, she'd still be alive. She was technically a ghost all along. But if her hatred is that powerful, why even give us the false hope of the vaccine? Humanity's just tearing each other apart anyway. You know what? I don't care. It's done. This game is an absolute train wreck. It tried so hard to be Resident Evil, and even seemed like it wanted to be Silent Hill in a few parts, with the alternate world plot and all, but all it does is be The Ring, Terra's Realm, and that's not a good thing. The story makes no sense, and tends to make a fool out of itself. The combat isn't terrible, but there's so little of it that it doesn't help this game's case at all. Most of the game was spent running across the office trying to trigger plot progression, and I was scrounging for batteries in the Ring world when I wasn't absolutely lost in infinite darkness. I just can't believe this game was even permitted to be made. I actually managed to find out that Koji Suzuki, the author of the original novel, not only didn't work on this game, but wasn't even aware that the studio had licensed the IP for game adaptation. So the game studio had to know it'd be bad if they weren't even going to tell the author about it. The Ring Terra's Realm, played front to back, beginning to end, by me. And I hope you're happy. Because I'm not. I'm not happy at all at that. And with this unhappiness, I extend a warning. Some people watch reviews of bad things, movies, games, whatever, and you'll go out and find it and see if you like it for yourself. Get the full experience. And to that I say, please do. Please go out and find yourself a copy of The Ring Terror's Realm. Tell me how you like it. Play it front to back, and see how your life is at the end. I'm dying to know. Well, for all intents and purposes, it's good to be back. Hope you all enjoyed my suffering. I assure you, there's more soon to come. Dismissed. What's up, guys? General Zilla here. So glad to be back making videos. So glad you all watched that. It was probably one of the most fun, yet most miserable videos I've ever made. All in all, I'm very glad I did it. Very glad to be back. There's a lot of things that have been going on that have kept me out of the game, but I'll be explaining all that in due time. Yeah, for the foreseeable future, I'm more or less back. I do have plans for more episodes in the future. Hopefully, I'd like to dish out one a month, so hopefully the next one will be towards the beginning of August. Again, glad you guys could be back. Oh yeah, if you're not done watching reviews yet, a good friend of mine just started his review channel. His name is Zeta Newborn. I'm going to link to him in the description. Real good friend of mine. His 2 reviews that he's got out now are good, and from what I hear, he's got a new one coming out soon. So go check him out. Have fun. Glad to see you. Dismissed.